So here's another. Some of you guys said you like these 12th house rants, so let's go through it. So even if you're not a 12th house person, you might be able to relate to this experience, especially if you have any Pisces maybe in the chart, any Neptunian energy in the chart, where what we have to understand about 12th house in Neptune and Pisces energy, if we're thinking of the 12th house, is it's mutable energy. And so, like I said before in my other video, the 12th house does not exist. And so when something doesn't exist with the 12th house, of course, I feel like it can give you more freedom to create what exists in your mind. And people who have 12th house energy, you learn to control it. You can manifest easily when you actually start doing the practices of manifesting, and you actually, because you already have a connection to the unconscious of things that we cannot physically see. You already have that connection. That's why you've always felt lost your whole life. However, this is mutable energy. And so a lot of experiences that some of you might have had is people will try to mold you. Okay. So I think a lot of times introverts can relate to this as well. Introverts will feel like people will see you and assume something about you because they don't know what you are, or you might not always show what you are, or you are selective about what you show different people. And so when we don't know what something is, we want to categorize it, we want to mold it, we need it, it's clay. Oh, I'm going to mold this person into my image. And what happens sometimes is the reality is 12th house people, y'all, we're on a whole, we have a whole different level of what we are dealing with, right? Like we are in our own minds a lot. We know what inspires us. We know what we like. It sometimes can be difficult to bring that into the everyday world until you get confident enough to say, like, actually, there are people out there that think like you. Actually, there are people out there that relate to you. And people that would, if you're a creative person, there are people out there that would support your creative endeavors if you just bring it out, But the thing is that people will try to mold you. They will try to mend you in their image, and they want you to be in their image. And so a lot of times the conflict that you're going to have, if you're a person who's, again, has heavy 12th house energy, heavy Pisces energy, or if you're just an introvert, people don't know how to react when they're like, wait, actually, you aren't someone that's moldable. Actually, you aren't someone who doesn't have their own ideas, their own views, right? Because they assume, okay, you're quiet, so I can, but the thing is, actually, the more quiet someone is, the more thoughts actually going on. There's a lot going on there. So I would say with the introverts is like extroversion is everything has to be interacted with. And the thing with extroversion is there are benefits to extroversion and benefits to introversion. And there are people who are both, or people who navigate between both. It might even depend. And for a lot of us, it will depend where we are. Obviously, I'm not an introvert in my house. Everybody knows what I think in my house. Everybody knows what I'm feeling in my house. Everyone knows that, good and bad. So that's what I'm saying. It's like we all have those different moments, but in terms of how you are when you interact with the world, we all will say we're introvert, we're extrovert. And some people will say, well, I'm an ambivert. I'm both. And so with that said, is just don't be surprised if that happens. If you have 12th house placements throughout your life, you're going to, and especially if you have Mars in the 12th house and you don't always, obviously, like as an adult, I take initiative, but like when you're younger, or you're someone just starting life on your own, or as an early adult, is like, if you don't take that initiative, a lot of times people will come to you, right? People will come to you sometimes when you're an introvert, and you'll be like, oh, cool, I didn't have to go to anybody. They came to me. This is cool. But then you have to really start asking yourself, are these the right people for you? Because a lot of times you would have people come to you and invite you in, or these people, you're like, oh, I think they're cool, they like me, but they're trying to mold you in their image. And when you're not a pet, when you're not their pet, like I said, my first early experience with this aspect of someone trying to bully me was when someone thought this was in elementary school, but like they thought because I was quiet, I was their little pet. And the minute I stood up for myself, that was an issue. And there's a trend with people of certain placements, and my experience with that. I'm not going to go into that whole rant of that because I don't like to really bash certain signs or things like that. But there's a trend with like people who think, okay, if you're quiet, you're going to be my little pet, you're going to follow me around, And again, with certain ages in your life, you're going to be okay with that until you learn, actually, no, I have my own thoughts, I'm my own person. And I'm a life path number 1, Leo, Mercury, Mars. So I'm not going to follow anybody, especially in Jupiter and Aquarius. Like, even though I'm quiet, I have my own thoughts, I have my own beliefs. And if I am going along with you, it's because I truly believe that you're in the right direction. I truly believe we're aligned and we're in sync. But that's what you're going to experience a lot, is this attempt to mold you, this assumption that you don't have, your lost puppy. You know, you might act like one sometimes too at some points in your life. And so the biggest thing with the 12th house, you guys, have your confidence, show who you are, show bits and pieces of yourself, bring it out there. It doesn't matter how weird it is, somebody's going to relate to it. It doesn't matter how weird, how different you feel from others around you. When you learn to bring this out into the forefront, you're going to see you're not alone. But it also builds your confidence and your image, because your image, your 12th house, let's say your sun is in the 12th house, right? But it's conjunct the ascendant. So like, that's my situation, right? Because, especially those, we're using Placidus, a lot of times we're like, well, if we have the sun and it's conjunct the ascendant, but the sun is in the 12th house, what does that mean for how I present, how people see me? Well, the sun is your core essence, right? The sun is what you project. It's in the 12th house, so people aren't really quite sure what you project. And so that sometimes it is up to us, it is up to you to project who you are, and show what you are, and show what brings you a sense of joy, and show your identity, and show those things to the world, because that is definitely another reason why people want to mold you or think that you are in their, okay, this person is just a lost puppy, I'm going to be able to twist and mold them. And then that's why a lot of you have issues with people, because now there's the conflict, because you're not that, right? You know you're not. And sometimes we're just more selective of when we show certain things, when we talk about certain things. And what happens is now there's the problem, because you're going against that person, or you're now asserting yourself, and they thought you were just someone they could mold, and now all of a sudden it's an issue. And a lot of times, a lot of your relationship, friendships, some things have fallen apart because of that, and you don't even notice it. It really was because they thought you were something else. And maybe you didn't show what you really were at first. Maybe they didn't get a chance to really know you. Because if I'm meeting you and I'm thinking that, and again, this doesn't even have to be friendships. It could be family members, right? If you're seeing, oh, I'm going to mold you into what I want you to be because you seem lost and I'm not really sure what you are. 12th house, we don't know. People don't know until you show them what you are, okay? So there needs to be a conscious effort on your part, especially if you have your sun in the 12th house, to project who you are and share your personality. And people can take it or leave it. Nobody has to like anybody, right? But being yourself, and then you'll see what people are reacting to. So if you are being yourself, and all of a sudden people, your family, your friends, your partner, whatever, all of a sudden that's not good enough for them, or all of a sudden that's an issue, it's because they had this image of you that really wasn't you. And maybe you didn't show what you really were because you're so lost in your mind, or the 12th house, where it's like, we don't have to be anywhere. The 12th house is not about time, so we don't have to be anywhere. Now, a lot of us who have 6th house placements as well, or Virgo or Earth placements, we know we understand time, right? Because, when it comes to anything that's a responsibility that I have in the physical world, I do it well. But the 12th house, spiritual, in our imagination and being in our feelings and our senses and self, and also self-doubt is in the 12th house. So because of all those different things, people don't see that unless they are really in sync with you. And so that's sometimes what happens with these falling outs. It's because you weren't in the image they thought you were. You weren't what they thought you were. And all of a sudden, if you're now asserting yourself and you're now becoming your own person, they feel that they've lost that opportunity to mold you or make you into something else. I've had in situations, one situation in particular, it really wasn't bad, but one person thought I wanted something that I didn't want. In terms of just a goal that I had. They assumed my goal was something, and it wasn't that. And, assumed that's what I wanted, but it was like, no, actually, this is what I'm going for. It's what I want. And so when you think of things like that, what you can see is like, oh, what happens is you have to control that, because people are always going to see you in what they think you should be, what they think you should do. They're going to see you based on their experience with you. That's why if you've ever met someone, you're like, why does everybody like this person, but I don't like them? It's because that person, maybe they act different around certain people, but their experience with that person is different. You get what I'm saying? Your experience with those people are different, and so that's what you have going on there, is that you have this, people are never going to fully see you for what you really are, especially if you have 12th house placements. They can be really close, but they're never going to see it. And if you know that as a 12th house person, you do have to become more conscious of what you project about yourself. And that the more you hide things, the more people are going to assume things about you, and the more that's going to take place. And I've said in my other video, when people don't know things about you, your secrets, or what makes you tick, whatever, they're going to make something up. I said this in the other video. When people don't know something about you, when you're not spilling your business everywhere, they're going to make things up about you. And you turn around, you're like, why? How did that even come up? They're trying to find a way to have you in the mix with them, because they're like, well, wait, if if everyone knows this, why do you get to be quiet and not say anything? I'm going to make something up about you. It happens all the time. For a lot of people, even when I do readings for people, they'll talk about like certain experiences they had and certain placements and want more clarity on like, why do I keep experiencing? Now, here's the thing. One thing I will always stress is personal responsibility. This is not a victimhood video. This is not saying we are victims. That's why I keep telling y'all, show who you are, be proud of that. And again, people can take it or leave it. That's the reality. If you don't like what someone is, you don't have to be around them. You do have to be around them. That's a whole different thing. We're not a victim, right? And that's why I even say with 12 house placements, we are not martyrs. I'm not a martyr. I might have spiritual gifts, but I have my own goals, my own family. I have my own things to tend to. And so we do sometimes even have to lay those boundaries with folks. So it's not about laying down and being passive. I want us to understand the 12th house is not doom, gloom. You can't do anything. It's a horrible place. It's learn how people are going to perceive you because of those 12th house placements. A lot of the things are behind the scenes. Everything's hidden. It's there, but you're experiencing on a spiritual plane. And because you like to be in that spiritual plane or in that mode, and you intrinsically know, right? It's intrinsically knowing and sensing universal things from that 12th house. You sometimes don't feel a need to show it in the real world. Get what I'm saying? And so that's basically what the thing is. I had a client recently where we're kind of talking about this experience. And it's like, that's basically what it is. Like, you have to be yourself, and you have to be unapologetic about that. And whoever likes it likes, and who doesn't. And when you're young, it's hard. When you're young, it's like, you might not understand that, but it's like, literally, it's better to be liked for who you are than liked for what you're not. It's way better. I promise you, it's going to be way better when you're like, wow, I authentically have connections with these people because I'm just what I am. And it doesn't matter if it's weird or different or if you're introverted or whatever the case may be. So it's very important to understand who you are, express that of yourself, and just really, understand that you're not here to be in anyone else's image. You're learning who you are, and you're asserting that through the things you do, through what you say, and the actions, and in your consistency of who you are as a human being, right? And through time, you're going to attract who you're supposed to attract. You're going to start to get better energetically. On a spiritual level, when you talk with someone, you're going to sense it. 12th house, and even anyone who's really just into their spirituality or into intuition, you sense it. When you talk to certain people, how do you feel? Have you ever had a conversation with certain people, one-to-one, and it just feels good? It's a soul connection, right? And then you talk to another person and it's like, it's forced or it's very, formalized. That is what I'm talking about. You are going to get better at sensing these things, but you have to disconnect from the idea that it's everybody who comes to you, 12th house people. If you're so introverted, people are going to come to you. Like Pokemon. Was it Pokemon I Choose You? I think so. I don't know. But come to you and you're going to be like, well, I'm an introvert. So maybe, okay, maybe I made these friends or maybe I like these people. They like me back. But you didn't have to understand what is the real relationship there? What is the real friendship there? Whatever it is, if it's a relationship or partnership, whatever the case may be. That's all I want to say about this 12th house rant. Thank you for watching.